Hi crafting friends, Melissa Kerman here with Melissa's Crafting Treehouse. Today I have a really fun project for you that is a fun fold that uses the Positive Thoughts stamp set and the coordinating Nature's Thoughts dies. And this is the card that we're going to be making. It's just a really simple little fun fold. Now I've used the Perennial Essence Designer Series paper here, and we will be using all the patterns of designer paper. There'll be a mix of options. Now this is a club and free card kit project, and recipients of free card kits will get a random piece of designer series paper, and they'll get to choose how they want to put their card together and which side of the designer paper they want to use. So we're going to start with stamping our fern images. And I'm going to be using my craft white ink, and I'll be doing a fern on a piece of old olive and mossy meadow. Once your images are stamped with the white craft ink, you'll need to let these dry, or you can use a heat tool and heat it on the low setting, so that would be the first setting on your heat tool. And when you go to clean this stamp, it's a different kind of ink. It's a little bit goopy. So you don't want to just put it onto your Stampin' Scrub because it'll make a big white streaky mess on your Stampin' Scrub. So what I like to do is just wet it with some of my mist and then wipe off the ink to get it started with a paper towel. And then I can take my scrub and scrub it more thoroughly. Now for my card base, it's going to measure 5.5 by 7.5, and then I'm just going to score it at the 4¼ inch line, and then I'm going to be using a thin strip that's a hair less than 1 inch wide, and I'm going to score it at 1 1/8 inch along one side. So this piece is essentially going to be the arm of the card. So as you can see, it's attached to the front focal piece and the arm swings open. So I'm going to start with just constructing the basic body of the card, and I'm going to use my triple banner punch here. Take my little strip of cardstock, my arm, push it all the way in so that it bumps up against the back of the punch, and punch the little banner element at the end. And then the arm piece is just going to get attached in behind my Whisper White cardstock right here. I'm going to wait to do that until my focal piece is ready so I can make sure to get my spacing just right. Now I'm going to do a little bit of die cutting and dry embossing. So I'm going to be using my subtle embossing folder, and I'm going to dry emboss a piece of balmy blue cardstock. Now this is bigger than what I'll end up using in the end. I'm going to cut it down into strips to put into the kits for the free card kit projects. So I've got my balmy blue done there. And then I'm going to do some die cutting. So I'm using the frame element from the Nature's Thoughts dies. So that's this shape right here. You see it has a nice little detail in there. I'm going to die cut a piece of Pear Pizzazz, which will be my background piece for my focal. Now I stamped some of my white crafting on this cardstock earlier and allowed it to dry. And one at a time, I'm going to die cut each of these ferns. I'm also going to need a butterfly for my focal piece. And now I'm just poking out my butterfly. You can see the pieces fell out of the center, but I'm going to show you a way to do it where they don't come out of the center as well, in case you like that look. Here's a close-up photo of a butterfly with the pieces poked out, and another one with the pieces intact. Now I especially like the version with the pieces intact, and it's a little bit hard to do, but I think it's worth the effort. So at the end of this video, I'll also have a segment showing you how to create the butterfly with the pieces intact. Make sure to stay till the end to see that segment. I'm going to do a butterfly in my Rich Razzleberry because I think that might also go with the color scheme here. And I'm doing my old olive fern leaf at the same time. The fern comes out nice and easily. Next, I'm going to take my 2 dry embossed pieces and cut them down to 1 1/4 inch strips. Now these are pieces in Balmy Blue and Petal Pink, and I'm cutting them both so I have the option to use one or the other depending on which side of the designer paper I decide to use. So I've got all my pieces and parts. The choice of butterflies. So let's start by assembling the focal piece. So I'm going to use a glue dot to attach these 2 together, putting one in a few strategic spots that I know will be overlapping with my mossy meadow fern. Just going to tuck that in and put them on a bit of an angle based on how I want them to sit on my focal piece. Then I'm going to put dimensionals on the back side all over. And now I'm just taking off my dimensional backings, attach it to my Pear Pizzazz die cut piece. And then I'm going to get my spacing on my card body. Now it's going to be attaching to the arm, so that's about where I want it. So I'm going to put some adhesive right here, attach my focal piece, attach my white piece to the arm, and then attach my white piece to my card base. Now that's really pretty just like that, but we're going to add some finishing touches, starting with deciding on which designer paper we want to use. Now I love that side with the purples, and now here's where I get to choose, because I can put my blue for this look, a blue butterfly, or I could use the back side. Now I can't stand but to cover up that purple, so I'm going to be going with the blue and purple color scheme. Start with attaching my designer paper to my front panel, then my dry embossed Balmy Blue piece on the inside. And now all I need are my finishing touches. So I'm going to roll up a glue dot to place on the body of the butterfly. I'm literally rolling it between my fingers because I don't have a lot of space here on the back to place it. And then I can choose where I want it to be. I'm going to squish it down in the middle so that those wings can float up. And last but not least, I'm going to use a few pearls and place them either on the 4 corners or in a few spots around the fern. And there we go. There are my 2 finished cards. And of course there's room on the inside to write because the white is exposed. And of course you have the choice, if you don't want to use a colored strip there, you could just leave it white. Now if you want to have your butterfly with all the pieces and parts intact, you can attempt to attach all the pieces before you remove the die. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't, but the real trick is managing to remove it from the magnetic plate intact like this, and then turning it over. You can see all the pieces are in there. And then what I'm going to do is take my mini Stampin' Dimensionals and cut them in half and use them to essentially attach the piece that's cut out with the outside of the butterfly in all the spots. So I'll try to straddle a dimensional here, straddle a dimensional here, and then that should hold it together. I like to use my paper piercing tool for this because it makes it really easy to pick it up and place it where you want it. Now these little itty bitty pieces are the hardest ones to keep in place. If they come out, they're virtually impossible to get back in place. So there's how it looks when you're done. And then can remove it from its piece and then push it out of the die. You can see there's a blue piece still in there, so I'm going to place it back in, and then as I'm pushing it out, I'm going to press on that opening so that it presses into the dimensional that's underneath it. And it should lift it up. So there is my butterfly intact. As you can see, it's a little challenging to do. It's worth a try. It worked for me several times. As a reminder, this is one of my club and free card kit projects. To learn more about how you can get free card kits, check out the link in the video description below. I hope you enjoyed my project today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for spending some time with me today, and happy crafting!